Okay.
I don't see me.
We
Oh,
are.
there we are.
We are like 5 minutes early just because we wanted to come into the chat room and hang out with anyone who's showing up early. This room, we've lived in this room for 2 days and we haven't had room service, so the floor is all dusty and gross.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a delay, remember?
Well, it was still black, so I was nervous.
Oh.
But hi, if you're in here, we can see that there's numbers in here, but we can't actually tell who you are. So
yeah, say
tap
hi in
into
the chat.
the chat box while I post this story to our Instagram stories.
Yeah. So we're looking at doing about 30 minutes, maybe 45 to an hour, depending on how much people want to talk to us and how much we feel like talking.
I mean, yeah, if you don't talk, we'll just do our script and be like,
well, it's not a script. It's like
goodbye.
It's like an outline.
We have our questions here that were already pre-asked.
Okay, 4 minutes. Okay, so how are you guys doing? So, so it looks like Charlie.
We're mystery people. That is my father. Hello,
Yes.
mystery people.
Wow, family.
See? We're famous.
Wow.
My dad's here.
People love us. I'm already sweating. We turned the fan off in the room so that there wouldn't be any background noise. But since it's just you right now, Wes, can you hear us fine and we're not lagging and the lighting is okay? Yeah? Thumbs up is good.
Everyone stare at the chat box.
Let me see.
Yes, Rebecca's here. Hello, Rebecca's here.
Hi. I'm sweating it profusely. I get really nervous with this kind of things, which is silly because
there's 3 people here and 2 of them are our parents.
And then we're gonna post this on YouTube afterwards. I'll cut this beginning part out and just start with our hello at the beginning of what we're about to do. Oh yeah, you're right. It is kind of orangey and purpley.
Leave it to my mom to notice that. It's a cozy little room. It's very European. It's definitely small.
I would show you around, but the frame is perfect right now. So
Dad, is there any space in that room? No.
No, there's not.
This is the door.
This is the wall. So, not much room at all. All right, so in 3 minutes we will start our questions and start talking as if there are more people in the room than just our parents. So, if you have any... What? It's okay that just our family is here, and maybe 1 or 2 secret people who haven't shown up on our concurrent viewers yet. Because it says there's 3 people here, so who's the other mystery person?
Mystery person.
All right.
I'm confused by this because it says like concurrent viewers and views.
Yeah. This is our first time going live, so everyone forgive us if we do any live faux pas. Some people like watch lives like on a regular basis.
I hope we get random strangers. That would be really weird.
That's the end goal here.
That was odd.
So we're basically waiting for 6 o'clock to hit, and then we'll start. I know I said that like 4 times.
Yep.
So. For being a performer, I get nervous because I think sometimes I just don't like to hear myself talk. So I'm like, surely other people don't want to hear me talk.
And it's also extra weird because it's not like a Zoom, so it's not even like we see other people. Like it's
we
literally...
can't talk back to you. Yeah.
I like your Vitruvian man. He's petting the nose of a bull.
Ah, yes.
I think that's a bear.
I thought it was a hog, but yeah, it does look like a bear.
Life in Switzerland. It is gorgeous today. High of 68 Fahrenheit, and so it's been very lovely. We haven't really done much except for work and sleep and.
And I thought I was sick for a day, and now I'm feeling mostly better.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
Less than a minute.
Yeah, walk to get too good to go food. How's the coffee? Well, it's the same coffee that we had in Portugal, because apparently the coffee here, like everything else in Switzerland, is so bloody expensive. So it's fine. Yeah. But apparently the house we're going to, I was talking to a lady and she's like, I'll have my husband set you up with coffee. So I guess she doesn't drink coffee, but hopefully it's good.
All right, we'll see if anyone else shows up. If you guys have shown up, go ahead and put your name in the chat box because we can't see who is here unless you say hi.
Or just be like a silent creeper. I accept that as well.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. You ready?
Ready?
Let's do it.
Hi
Hello.
everyone! Welcome to our Q&A.
This is our very first live chat. I'm Kyle.
I'm Kat.
And this is Kyle Caught a Cat. We just wanted to start with about once a month for going live, but at
Maybe
least once a quarter.
Yeah. Just to give you guys an update, like it's the kind of thing that when we were considering starting travel vlogging, we definitely would have been interested in just a general sit down and like, what is your actual day-to-day life like? So we're 2 months in, we've learned a lot, and we just want to talk about it here.
Yeah, so for those of you who are joining us after the live, look at the video chapters below and you might be able to find specific topics of what we're talking about.
Yeah,
whatever
we'll separate
interests you.
it by question and things
Yeah.
like that.
So we're currently in Zurich, Switzerland, staying in a budget hotel. It's really just a normal hotel.
But for Switzerland, it's a budget hotel. It is cheaper than a hostel would have been for us, because with 2 people, obviously you have to pay for 2 bunks. And bunks were running around 60 to 80 a night per person, and so we got this for $120. It's the Leonardo Boutique Hotel. It is really quite lovely and charming, so don't sleep on boutique hotels.
Yes, it's a good way to get cheap hotels if you're looking. So we thought that we would start, before answering any questions, we thought that we would start with just a quick recap of what we've done since we started traveling. So in fall of 2024, we started selling all of our belongings, we quit our jobs, and then we started launching our Instagram channel on Thanksgiving and our YouTube channel on Christmas. And then...
Yeah, we spent about a month at home visiting our parents, things like that, for most of January. And then on February 6th, hopped on a one-way flight from Washington, D.C. to Cape Town, South Africa, and began this insanity.
Yeah, so we stayed with friends, Kate and John, in Fishhook, South Africa, which was just a...
It's a suburb of Cape Town, but it's nicer, so stay there if you go to Cape Town.
And then,
Hey,
we hung
Reagan's
out
here.
with them. Hey, Reagan.
Hi, that's my sister.
I didn't think she was going to be able to make it.
That's fun.
So then February 13th, we started our first Workaway at a wedding venue in Potchefstroom, which is about 2 hours from Johannesburg.
March 4th, we went back to Cape Town, and while there, we went to the Penguin Beach that is all over Instagram. We did go to a couple wineries because you're in South Africa and you have to, and also went kloofing in the River Sonderend Gorge, which is the vlog that we'll be posting this
On
time
Saturday.
next week.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. If you don't know what kloofing is, it's basically canyoning, so swimming through a gorge. And then on March 12th, we got our matching cat tattoos. That's to commemorate our channel. I don't know if you can see it.
Beautiful.
But Kyle caught a cat. Her name is Kat. We both like cats, and so we figured why not. And then what after that? What did we do next?
We have notes. Okay, we got our cat tattoos March 13th. We finally left South Africa, flew to Lisbon, Portugal, and started our second workaway on the southern coast of Portugal in Algesur.
That was 2 weeks long. So after that was finished, we flew to Barcelona, Spain, and at which point I flew back to Virginia for a friend's wedding.
And I had a few days of solo traveling, and then I met up with some friends of ours in Madrid, and we just ran around Madrid for a few days.
It was pretty awesome. I was sleep deprived when I got back. I got back on March 8th.
April 8th.
April 8th, because we have been traveling for months now, and we're now in April. So we went to Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.
And then on April 10th, we went back to Lisbon and Porto, visited with my parents for a couple days.
They were there on business.
It was lovely.
Shout out to them, they're watching right now.
Hi, parents. Hey, your mom's here.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
She also wants to know how's the coffee. Fine, not amazing. But we're also not drinking Swiss coffee, we're drinking Nescafe instant coffee. So
Yeah, we can't afford the coffee here.
no. But yeah, so after that, flew here to Switzerland like 2 days ago. On Monday, we will start a pet sitting job for a week. And then after that, we will fly to London. And we've got about a month and a half of back-to-back pet sitting.
Yeah, so that's where we're at now, and where we're going to be. We'll be pet sitting. We have our housing arranged until mid-June. So that's like the first 4 months of our travel, all while staying under a $3,000 a month budget.
Yeah.
Don't know how we made it happen, but that is some of the stuff we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So now we're going to just get into the Q&A section. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on them and answer them when we can. But we're going to start with 3 sections of questions. We're going to start with our basic travel questions that other people who might be interested in traveling might be able to find us on YouTube and get some of those questions answered. The second one is our Workaway questions for people looking to do Workaway.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one is just our personal questions that our family and friends and maybe some followers might be more interested in as well.
Cheers, let's do it.
All right.
Okay, so first question we got, we kind of crowdsourced questions from people on Instagram, and then also just as people were asking questions on our YouTube videos, whatever, we kind of collected those. But the first one was, how do you handle meals/health while you're traveling on a budget?
Well, I'll answer Mom's question. She said, why is it so expensive there?
I don't know.
It just is. Switzerland is one of the most expensive countries in the world. Their exchange
Switzerland
rate.
and Iceland.
Yeah, so we just are trying not to buy anything here. The coffee is like probably 10, 11
Yeah, we got a
US
coffee
dollars.
and a black tea on the airplane. Thought it was free. It was not. It was $9.30.
But you answer this one. This is more your spot.
As for meals and health, I will let you know we are still very much figuring that out. For now, it's just kind of trying our best and fasting when it makes sense for my hormone cycle. Basically, the short version is when you can, just try to emphasis on protein and eating every color of the rainbow and plant food every day. That's what we attempt to do. But like when you're in a hotel, you don't have access to a kitchen. Maybe you're at a Workaway and you are at the mercy of whatever they are feeding you. You just kind of have to try your best. And
we're kind of looking for a good multivitamin or a good greens powder to carry along with us. It's just right now we have our leftover vitamins and minerals and stuff from home that we're just getting rid of.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the greens powders that we like don't ship internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for a way to supplement our health and our diet with like greens powders but we haven't decided on one because we want one that we can trust and one that we can give to you guys as a
we love Groons,
affiliate.
but they don't ship internationally,
So next question. What's one item that you wish you had packed but didn't, and one that you packed that you now wish you hadn't? I have one for both of those. Our Pokemat. We have like an acupressure mat
that we call the Pokemat.
Yeah, so you lay on it and it opens your blood vessels and relaxes you at night and energizes you in the morning, and it could have packed so small. I think I just forgot it, honestly.
Yeah, it's there have been quite a few days because we're budget traveling that we're hauling our luggage, down cobblestone streets, and like your back gets really tight and you do a lot of walking, you're tired, and I'm like, we finished the day and I wish we had that. So.
And then the other thing is the Nintendo Switch. We had packed it and we had used it once.
We love that thing. We just didn't have nearly the free time we thought we would, and it was constantly a concern that it would be stolen or get
broken,
crushed in the bag. So we ended up sending it actually back with my parents this week just to keep it safe. We might get it back at some point if we find that we miss it and have more capacity or room in our bags to keep it safe, but for now it just wasn't smart.
How do you handle laundry and personal hygiene on the road?
I never thought that laundry would be so difficult. I had really taken for granted the fact that we had access to laundry any and everywhere, and even if it wasn't at our house, we had a couple times our laundry machine broke, and then the yoga studio I worked at, she would just allow me to go do my laundry there. The thing is, so far we have found a lot of places, most of the places we've stayed don't have dryers. They just have washers and you hang your clothes to dry, which would be fine if we hadn't been traveling in all this unseasonable rain.
Yeah.
So that has been actually very difficult, and it's caused us to reanalyze a couple of the things in our suitcase based off of how well they dry.
Yeah, we luckily haven't gone without clean clothes yet.
Yes.
We've always been able to find, we try to mix our house sitting gigs with our Workaway gigs. One of our Workaways had a washer we could use, the other one didn't. But yeah, so far it's been okay.
Yeah, you can rewear clothes just fine. It's
the underwear.
It's underwear and socks that we're running up against. So we'll see.
So
personal hygiene.
Yes, we keep, as far as personal hygiene, we have dude wipes that we bring with us everywhere just in case we need to freshen up.
Yeah.
And then we've
long
got
airport days and stuff.
Hand sanitizer in her fanny pack that she carries everywhere. And then sandals for hostel hotels, or hostel showers where you don't want to get any kind of fungus on your feet from the showers. But yeah, I see Wes asked what has gone according to plan and what has not.
And what has surprised
you so far.
you so far?
We're going to answer that later, but...
well, Yes, we will be answering that kind of further down the line, so we'll hold on to that.
Stay tuned. So what's your strategy for finding off the beaten path destinations and experiences?
I will start. Instagram is actually a great tool. Because we have a travel Instagram, we get a lot of travel reels, and so if I see a reel on a cool experience or stay or whatever, I save it, and I actually have a bunch of folders on Instagram organized by country. So, for London, that's not a country, that's a city, but I have an entire folder of like free things to do in London or interesting experiences. So Instagram, and then I would say asking the locals.
Yes, we most of the fun and interesting things we've done up until now have been because the person we're staying with at Workaway has given us a suggestion of the best safari to go on, or the kloofing, or it's all of the coolest things we've done have been by suggestion of a local. So
and they're usually less expensive as well.
It's kind of a mixture of both.
Because you're not falling into the tourist traps. So, okay, what's an example of a positive and negative interaction with locals?
A positive one only happened a few days ago. It was actually really cool. We had gotten delivery, like food, Uber Eats, and
I think it was Bolt food technically, but
we were going to pick it up. He had just arrived. We got the notification that he had arrived, and we went to go out our front door at the Airbnb, but it was locked and it would not unlock. So we were stuck. We just made a reel about it the other day, but
yesterday, go look at it.
I threw him down his tip and told him to just leave the Uber Eats on the front door. Glad we didn't, because it was about 2 hours before we were able to get out of our apartment. But he hung around, and when I kept checking out the window to make sure the food was still there, but I saw he was hanging around, and we did tip him well, so he was incentivized to help. But
Really nice.
it turned out that we let a ladder down to him. And,
they had one of those like decorative bamboo ladders for like towels and stuff.
And he tied it to the end of the ladder, and we got our food.
Pulled it up to the second floor.
That was a nice one, and that was in Portugal. No,
Yeah, that was in Lisbon.
in Lisbon, yeah.
Yep. And then a negative interaction. This one was interesting. So Barcelona, and we knew this, is not thrilled with tourists just in general.
Their housing is really tight, and Airbnb is taking a lot of their housing.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, to be honest. But depending on who you're talking to, they may not love that you were a tourist. And we were in a market and kind of walking around this farmer's market, and this guy asked, "Are you American?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Go, leave." And like dismissed us from
Well, I was considering buying some of his vegetables too. I was holding a huge, beautiful looking red pepper.
Gorgeous. It was like this big. It was like a freaking watermelon.
And I think he could tell that we were American and especially didn't like that. So,
Yeah.
But I didn't catch on that he was telling us to leave. So I lingered, and I could tell everyone else was walking away, and I was like, what?
Yeah, me
what
and
happened?
our friends Sierra and Zach, we
felt
were
bad.
like, okay,
We should
bye. Interesting.
Yeah.
And Kyle was like, did he tell us to go? Zach was like, yeah, he did not want to see us. So
Yikes.
you sympathize because it's like tourism really is doing a number on the locals, so you can have empathy for that. But that was just, I had never experienced direct and open hostility.
Yeah, but it's good to know, and we knew this, but we try not to get Airbnbs unless we have to, and when we do, we try to make sure that it's a local who owns the Airbnb, who is just using a room in their house, not taking away housing that could have been for other locals.
Yeah, because essentially what's happening is these big companies are going in and buying all of these beautiful local houses in order to Airbnb them, and what's happening is that's then driving the price up, and people who have lived there for generations and generations are priced out of their homes. And
crazy.
so that's the basis. There's a lot more, but that is the basis of a lot of the frustration with tourists.
So now we're moving on to our Workaway questions. There's only 3 of them, but they might take a minute. The first one is kind of a compound question. What is Workaway? How does it work? And what are the expectations on both ends?
So Workaway is a work exchange platform, essentially. So if you think of it as like Airbnb, where you will type in a location and then people have their listings for their properties or whatever, it's kind of like that, but for work exchange. So you type in a location, and then people who host Workawayers list off their properties or their Workaways and kind of detail what work would be expected of you, what your housing would be like.
Yeah. It can be anything from farms to wedding venues, like what we did.
Hostels. And
wineries. Usually it's 20 to 25 hours of work a week, 5 days a week, but it's not a steady, fast rule. And in return for that work, you get free housing and free food.
Mm-hmm.
That's the typical expectation. but it's not always like that.
Yeah, sometimes it differs, but they usually will detail exactly what's expected of you on their individual listings.
And then you can review each other after the experience. So it's kind of a trust thing. There's no contracts, which is really nice. If you get there to the farm and you don't like how your living situation is, you can leave. And there's no repercussions other than you might get a bad review. But you can also defend yourself in those reviews. So,
yeah, and generally, like, if I were to leave a bad review for the host, any review goes through Workaway, and then they will contact the host and me and talk about, like, what happened. Was it a safety thing? Was it, like, extenuating circumstances? But it is nice knowing that, like, if there's a place we go to that we just don't feel safe, there's no punishment. We can just leave.
Yeah. So how were your two first Workaway experiences, and how were they like, and how are they different?
The first one was a wedding venue, and the second one was a farm.
Yeah. The first one was in South Africa. The second one was in Portugal.
Our first one was a lot of hours in individual days. So we might work really long days for 2 or 3 days, but then have 3 or 4 days completely off.
And then the other one was 5. It was very 4 hours of work a day, 5 days a week. We would do 2 hours of work, and then we'd cut into both sides of it. So we'd have a break that lasted anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, and then we'd do 2 more hours of work, and then one of the Workawayers would make lunch for everyone. And that one, so the wedding venue in South Africa, we were the only Workawayers. And the one in Portugal, that was the farm,
it was like a community.
There was 11 of us.
Yeah.
So we all kind of worked together, and it was a more fun environment because we had people that we were living with and like, doing life with.
Yeah, it was less comfortable, but more social and fun. Yeah. But like the wedding venue, we were staying in like housing that they rented to people for the weddings, so it was more comfortable housing, but we were alone and had really no way of getting into town. So we were kind of stranded.
We had no car, there was no bikes that you could take into town, there was no way to leave the property.
And we were in the boonies.
We were out in the middle of nowhere in South Africa. And so yeah, they both had their pros and cons. Both of them, there were times where we wanted to leave. We were so uncomfortable, so tired, so overworked and overwhelmed that we wanted to leave, but we stuck them both out. And I look back at both of them positively, even though they both had a lot of really uncomfortable things. Like, they both had bugs, and they both had a lot of rain.
We had a lot of spiders in our tent in Portugal, but no mosquitoes because it was too cold, but also it was cold. And then South Africa, we had a dead bat and a ant infestation and a couple other things.
A frog that entered. Like, it was a beautiful home, but it wasn't very airtight, so bugs could get in.
It was also the rain. I think a lot of that was
drove
due
a lot of
to
bugs
the
out.
Storms. So.
And which both of these locations are not known for their rain. We just got lucky.
Kind of
So I guess the third question for Workaway is, what advice would you give to someone considering a Workaway experience?
Go for it.
I would say just be willing to be flexible and just practice growing and going with the flow and just knowing that you're going to be okay, because a lot of times you're just uncomfortable but it's worth it because of the people you meet and the experiences you have and the stuff that you'll learn. So just practice being flexible, because my mom always used to say, if you don't bend, you'll break, or if you're not flexible, you're gonna break. And so I try to take that to heart. Mom, you'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah, and then I would say my advice is start with a shorter Workaway. So that way, if you do get there and it's more difficult than you expected or more uncomfortable, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then that way, too, if you enjoy it, you can extend. Like, most of these places are perfectly happy to invite you to stay longer, but it's nice to know, like, in our case, like, the tent was really cold. It was really nice to be like, okay, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel where we will be sleeping inside, and that would be quite nice. It's also taught us a few things that going forward in Workaways that are non-negotiables.
For us.
For us, that I think were quote-unquote negotiables prior to these Workaways. So, like, now I know we need Wi-Fi in our bedroom and not just...
Or in a private space.
Yeah, because part of it is, like, with my jobs and with the content creation, but I also have remote jobs, there would be times where I would need to, like, oh, quick, I have to go send this email or I need to go edit this thing, that if I just, in our bedroom, could get on my laptop, it would take me 5 minutes, but now I have to walk across the field in the rain to the room with the public Wi-Fi that share like that's just not gonna work. So yeah, it's good to learn, and if you start with the shorter ones, you will learn before
you'll know what you need. For sure. When you don't have it, you'll notice it. So that's our Workaway questions. If you come up with any thoughts about Workaway, feel free to throw any questions in. But
yeah, and if you're not watching live, throw them in the comments and we'll answer that in there.
For sure. Okay, so our personal questions. The first one is honestly very, very just
General.
basic. How are you doing mentally? Are you
excited?
Nervous? Overwhelmed? Overwhelmed. It's overwhelmed. I definitely have been about 80% of the time feeling overwhelmed with the workload and just the life change and all of that, but I am getting better at it, and
I think we have a better sense of what we need now. We jumped into this with both feet, and I don't have any regrets about that, but now we're kind of realizing, like, okay, we need more margin and time to be able to process things in real time instead of just going back to back to back adventures, because that's when you start to feel like the workload is piling up, and that is, for at least me, the primary source of a feeling of overwhelm is this constant sense of like, oh, I'm behind and I don't know when I'm going to catch up.
For me, it's the YouTube videos. I started in February with 6 videos on a backlog just in case we ran out of time, and now we're
out of time.
Like 9 weeks in, but I'm out of videos. Like the video that I'm posting next Saturday, I'm currently editing. So just the feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get a video done. But we're at the beginning. Nobody, it's okay if we miss a video. It's okay, like learning to be okay with, this is content creation for like Instagram and YouTube. It's not a big deal. Like,
right. The stakes are not that high.
Yeah. So
like it's a travel vlog.
But when you're so immersed in something so deeply, you start to really, really, really care about it. So it's hard to not be that way.
And I think with a little more margin in our schedule, it will get easier to process, like, hey, this is not a big deal. So, and for me, I'm the same, but I'm also like really excited and really grateful because I look back at the last 2 months and I'm just like realizing what a blessing it is to get to do what we are doing. So
it's worth it. The overwhelm is worth
both
it.
hands.
Because the 20% of the time that I'm not overwhelmed, I'm super grateful, super happy, super thrilled to be doing what we're doing and seeing what we're seeing. And I love Switzerland, aside from the fact that it was $81 for one bag of groceries.
That hurt. That hurt really bad.
One bag of groceries. Oh my gosh. So, but grateful to experience it and know that about Switzerland now. And seeing the mountains in the distance are almost worth it. And we're going to a church service tomorrow for Easter.
Yeah. And then we're going to walk around, and they have the tradition in Zurich that we just learned today was like these big historical fountains. They fill them with roses. So we're just going to go see these floating roses in these fountains, and like those are just the little fun cultural things that we get to experience.
We're excited.
All right, what was your favorite and least favorite moment so far of traveling?
My favorite was the kloofing, which is again the video that comes out on Saturday. That was the coolest thing I've ever done. It was scary. It had an adrenaline rush. Like it was a lot of emotions, but most of it was just awe of the beauty of creation. And she made me do it. So
I'd like to point out that he didn't want to do this.
I didn't. I wanted to do it, but I wasn't super thrilled
You're just
about
wary.
the fear involved. And then my least favorite was our layover in Angola. They don't like Americans there very much, and we could feel it. We were only there for
I don't want to speak like a generalized over every person in the country, but our experience was not...
Everyone we met.
It was pretty hostile. We were very grateful for the lounge access, because once we went into the lounge, it was like quiet and fine, and it was by no means like a typical airline lounge. It just kind of felt like a living room from the 90s, but it was comfortable.
The airport was stinky and hot and dirty,
and
they didn't have toilet paper or hand soap in the bathrooms, so...
And none of our cards worked.
Yeah, none of our cards worked. It's almost like the American banks were like, no.
It was interesting, because I assumed, like, Angola is kind of random, so I had assumed that, like, maybe Chase was like, hey, your card got stolen, whatever. So when we got to Portugal, I called Chase and was like, hey, I think there's a lock on my card, and they were like, no, there's not.
It just doesn't work in Angola.
It just doesn't work in Angola, and then I called Capital One, and they were like, yeah, same. So I was like, okay.
We might go back to Angola, but it's not on the top of my list, I guess I'll say.
I would do a layover again for that flight, because the flight Cape Town to Lisbon was $300, which is unheard of, which is why we did it. So I would do it again for a cheap flight, but it was not the most comfortable travel day of our lives.
And I'll just say on top of that, like, what's my least favorite thing about travel in general? It's the long, endless travel days. Like when I went to DC and back, those were both like 33, 36-hour travel days. And then I did another travel day 2 days later that was like 16 hours, and it's just travel days can get so long. But but again, I'm still thankful that it only takes 1 day to travel across the world. Like that, it's incredible.
Budget traveling, generally the days are longer because you're picking the cheaper flight, or so you're taking the bus instead of the plane. So, yeah.
So, what about you?
I'd say same thing.
Really?
Yeah. At least enough.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. What's your favorite view you've seen so far?
I would say the safari in Magaliesberg, South Africa.
Magaliesberg?
I think it's Magaliesberg.
I don't remember.
But yeah, at one point, one specific moment when we stopped and had coffee and drinks, we got out of the safari vehicle and we're just standing in this field of giraffes. There were like 30 giraffes. We have a cool picture of it, but it was just breathtaking, and we were just casually hanging out with the giraffes, and that was my favorite view. And giraffes are one of my favorite animals.
They were delightful. I would say my favorite view is the Arafana ruins in Algesburg? Are they in Algesburg?
They're near, yeah.
Yeah. So Arafana ruins in Portugal so they're ancient ruins, like pre-Christianized Portugal ruins. And I think what made it so cool is Arafana is primarily known as a surfing spot, but we had heard of these ruins, and so we were like, that could be an interesting place to film like a wandering workout for our Patreon. So we just walked out there, and even our host was like, yeah, don't get your hopes up, it's kind of lame. And we got out there, and you guys, the view...
It was better than the Cliffs of Moher.
Rivaled the Cliffs of Moher. Like, it was unreal, the cliff. Like, we were on a cliff and surrounded by cliffs and just, like, watching the water rush up against the rocks. It was insane. And I think part of what made it my favorite view was, one, the view was beautiful, but two, it had been so underrated that you just walked out there and it was like an authentic shock of delight. That was the moment where I was like, okay, Portugal is highly underrated.
Very underrated. I mean, yeah, I've fallen in love with Portugal. Just putting that out there. Go to Portugal. So what is something you've struggled with this month, and how would you like to grow / improve in the coming month?
I work too hard, which is not totally new. But I'm finding that I use work as a form of escape, because if I have a hard time resting, working feels anchoring, but then I never rest, because then I just feel like I get into this cycle of like working on different projects, and I'll take a break from this project by going to this project. And while his job is primarily the video editing, which is by far the largest job, I have a lot of little itty bitty jobs, and so I can do that. I can hop from like lily pad to lily pad and lie to myself that I'm taking breaks because I'm not working on this, I'm working on this. And I've just found that that's something I've struggled with, is like actually taking a break and doing nothing.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same vein. I just, not necessarily that I work too much, it's just I don't take time to be by myself. Whether it's just to have a quiet time and be my own mind and thoughts and prayers, or working out. Like, I haven't found time to work out. I just need to spend more time on myself, to invest in myself, because right now I'm just pushing, and yeah, it's the same, pretty much.
Yeah.
We struggle with the same thing. We're good teamwork team.
Woohoo, team, go team. What has been the most surprising thing about full-time travel? Like, what have you learned?
This is pretty much what your dad asked, so we can also circle back and ask what has gone according to plan and what has not. Basically, the thing that's been the most surprising for me is how painfully American I am. I knew that I was going to get my paradigm shifted, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to start traveling, but man, we stick out like a sore thumb. I'm so loud, I'm obnoxious, and I'm stupid when it comes to geography.
You're not stupid.
And language.
You just don't know geography.
Most people in Europe know at least 2 languages, and discovering that, feeling like the dumb one when they speak Spanish or Portuguese or Afrikaans, and they decide to switch to English to help you out. I'm like,
You're
sorry.
I'm sorry. Or like even in the hostel in Madrid we were in, there was a group of French students, and one of the employees of the hostel came down and spoke English to them, and they like deer in the headlights, and then he switched to German, and deer in the headlights, and then Italian, and then deer in the headlights, and then switched to French. Like, and I was like, this one dude speaks 4 languages casually, and he just works in a hostel. Like, he's not a linguist.
Right.
So that was...
And then also noticing how much I apologize. And we're so polite. We smile and wave at everyone I pass. That's just my southern gentility coming out. But I just think it's so rude to not smile and wave at every single person you pass on the street. But
that's a cultural thing.
That's the rude thing to do here. Like it's
not rude. It's just
weird.
confusing. They're like,
it's bizarre, and just apologizing too much for things that don't deserve apologies, like being in someone's way. It's okay to be in someone's way, or it's okay to be clumsy. Like you don't have to apologize. Say whoops, or
like no one cares if you if you get on the train and you trip and your bag falls and you pick it up, no one's fazed.
No one expects you to say sorry for that.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, that's a normal human thing.
And we've had a few people be like, stop apologizing.
At our
in South Africa and Portugal.
They're like, why are you constantly apologizing? It's fine. Like, take up your space.
But I think in America we're so scared of hurting or offending or offending. Should I just say that twice?
Yes.
We're so afraid of offending people that we just are constantly apologizing.
Yeah. So that was curious. I think for me, there's 2 things. One, directness. There is a lot less of talking around things. Like, everyone is very direct. And that was a little bit of a culture shock for me in that I'm not used to that. I'm not used to people saying like, hi, I would like to go here, and then I'd like to do this, and I don't want to do this. Like, but also I kind of prefer it. I'm like, oh, thank you for just exactly telling me what you want, as opposed to feeling like it's wrong for you to have an opinion. Like, I really appreciate that, but that it has been an adjustment, is just everyone speaking very directly and openly about, like, their thoughts or their concerns or whatever. Secondly, how much this lifestyle is not that different from, like, normal adult lifestyle elsewhere. Like, I think because when you look at travel vloggers and you're watching their YouTube, like, you're only seeing the crazy adventures and the highlight reel. You're not seeing the fact that they spent over half of the week in a hotel room
doing taxes.
Like, we had to do our taxes this week, or they're editing videos, or
it's
they're
really
just...
like 70% of the time we're just doing adult human things in a hotel room or in an Airbnb,
which makes sense
with like an okay view. It's like anywhere else in the world, just an apartment.
It's a street and an apartment building, like,
with the mountains in the distance, beautiful. But
like,
it's the same.
You don't think about that because travel vloggers obviously don't post that because it's not interesting to watch someone work on their laptop. So I had no point of reference for that, and so that's been a kind of just a surprising thing. Is like, oh, we still have to be like normal adult humans while we're traveling the world. Interesting.
And to answer Wes's question, what has gone according to plan? Pretty much everything so far.
Yeah.
Like, knock on wood. Everything, like, as stressful or overwhelming as everything has been, we've been very blessed that our travel days we've always gotten to where we were trying to get to. We've posted our content so far on time. We'll see if that continues to be the case, but so far we're about where we wanted to be with followers.
I would say the one thing that...
if we're looking at it as a business point of view.
Yeah, that didn't go to plan was my phone randomly deleting a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that was sad.
Because I had prepped a bunch of content for the weeks with our friends and with you guys, with parents, and so when it deleted, like, all my albums were just empty, and it wasn't in recently deleted, like, they were gone. Now I'm very grateful I also had Google Photos on my phone, so they're in there, they're just somewhere deep. They weren't organized anymore, and so that was a little frustrating because I had prepared to keep consistent content, and then once that happened, I was like, I'm not going to sacrifice this time with friends and family to recreate this content or to go hunt it down. So that was a little bit of a plot twist, but like, if the worst thing that happens was I missed a few days of posting on Instagram, it's not that big a deal. Yeah,
and that's also kind of when that happened, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and it was like dangerously close to burnout. So you were like, I need to just take a second from that.
And I
get that.
backed away.
I still want to try and track those. I mean, it's probably still somewhere in
They're
some server.
probably
They're just
somewhere.
mislocated. And Reagan or Wes, if you want to help us find some lost data on
The thing
iCloud,
is,
let us know.
I think I can find it. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in my Google Drive. But my Google Drive has like thousands of videos and photos because that's our job now is collecting content. And I was like, I can't. So I'm hoping this next week with pet sitting, I'll have the capacity to go find it.
So last question for now, unless we have more time and want to do more, is what have you learned about yourselves or each other through this? And I can start with, I've learned how scared I can get. In the States, I never really noticed how much I tend toward fear about everything. I think I like the safety net, and this has stripped away all safety nets. So I get scared on planes. Don't like planes. Don't think they're airworthy. They don't look like they should be able to fly.
Every time we go to fly, he's like, "How does that go in the sky? That shouldn't be able to go in the sky."
My brain can't comprehend it, so I don't like it. I'm scared of losing Kat in the streets, getting stolen or disappearing or whatever, or fear of finances, fear of enough to where it has woken me up. It was worse before we set out.
Yeah.
Like the month before we left the States, I was freaking out. Like every night I would kind of like jolt. Like I just had this fear, and I've combated it as much as I
it's like
possible.
ultimately, I think that is ultimately good to become aware of those like things that you had. I think like the fact that those have come up now, you can like take those fears and deal with them accordingly.
Yeah. But I've also noticed that like I'm scared of kloofing. I'm scared of a lot of like adventure type things. I don't like to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. So I would like to avoid those things. So it's going to be funny on our channel that I'm the more like subdued adventurous one and she likes to do all the crazy stuff.
But I think that's also cool because it's like you were very nervous about kloofing. You didn't know that you wanted to do it, and now it's like your favorite thing we've done.
Yeah.
So I think that's exciting.
I don't have to do it again, but it was fun.
He'll probably do it again. I have learned about myself that I have to get alone, which I kind of knew, but when we were living in Branson and had our own home and worked our separate jobs, it was just something that kind of happened. Like there would be times that he would be working and I wouldn't, and I could stay home and cook for a few hours, and it was just me and my cat and my podcasts. And that is a lot less common and a lot harder to attain. It was harder in South Africa because it was not always safe for me to just go out for a walk by myself. Now that we're in Europe, it's a lot easier. Like last night I went and picked up our food and listened to a podcast, and that is like very healing for me. Whereas he's an external processor, I'm an internal processor, so if someone else is around, I really can't process. So that has been something I've learned about myself.
That's our question. If anyone has any other questions,
Are we frozen?
let me know.
Oh no! Hopefully it comes back.
We don't know if we're frozen or not, but we're going to keep talking.
Okay, we're back. Yay, hopefully you didn't miss stuff.
Yeah, we don't know if it cut out, but it started buffering for a second. But that's pretty much all the questions that we had prepared. We have more questions for next time to answer ahead of time, but it looks like you guys didn't have too many questions. You were just here to enjoy. So
thanks for being here.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. Like this video and subscribe to our channel.
And if you are watching this not live, throw any questions you have in the comments and we will answer them.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being here. I guess, is that it? Are we going to sign off now? Thanks for coming, you guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Now we're really leaving.
Well, we're going
If I can figure out how to turn this off. Love you guys. Bye.